Welcome to this edition of Tech Trends. The last few years have witnessed the rise of a number of tech hubs across the country, from the northwest to the northeast to the southwest and now the southeast. We are here today at the Genesis Tech Hub in the city of Enugu, and we chat with the managing director of the hub on what the journey has been so far. Our tech tip is on ways to save an offline version of Google Maps, and we have much more lined up for you. But first, some tech news and updates. This is Tech Trends, and I'm Chukwemeka Agbata.
Scientists at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology are developing a robot to navigate its way through the unpredictable flow of human foot traffic. Robots are logical, humans largely not. And so the challenge for researcher Michael Everett and his colleagues at the MIT Aerospace Controls Lab was to design and program a robot to go with the flow when moving through pedestrian areas. According to Everett, one of the problems robots have when operating in crowds is that they are either too aggressive or too passive when interacting with their human counterparts.
So socially aware navigation to us means a robot that plans paths that account for what people want to do. So instead of just the robot trying to do the best thing for it, or like that's going to lead to a really aggressive robot. And if the robot just accounts for what everyone else wants to do, all the people, it's going to be a really conservative robot. So we want to blend the two ideas together and come up with a robot that operates just like people do, and so we fit in with the flow of traffic. So this robot has a lot of the sensors that you'll see on full-size autonomous cars, but we've scaled it down onto this size platform. So we have webcams down here. So there's 3 of them pointing out front so we can identify people in the world. And then we have a LiDAR up here, which gives us a point cloud of the world. And this thing gives us basically a 3D picture of the world, and we use the cameras to tell us what things in the world are.
One of the first things researchers did was to teach the robot, which goes by the name Jackal, some basic norms of human behavior.
And there's a lot of data that's coming into the system because we have so many sensors on board that I talked about. So all of these plug into this computer right here, and we combine them into a single representation of the world.
One of the things people often do when walking in crowds is behave in unpredictable ways. To help Jackal navigate the physical world among unpredictable humans, Everett and his team outfitted the robot with a combination of sensors and cameras, some of them relatively low-tech and others quite advanced, like the LiDAR sensor that sits atop the unit.
We want to go with the flow, and that means one of the things that involves is we need to be driving pretty fast. So we're going to be driving at human walking speed, and we're going to, some of our algorithms are designed so that if a person's coming towards us, we're going to follow the social rules that people follow, like passing them on the right side. So if there's a slower person in front of us that's walking, we should pass them on the left and go around them. Now these things, that's how we program it, and that's what we would expect, but people don't do that every time. So we need to be able to account for that randomness. And so we may not see that every time out of the robot, but we're hoping that it will be choosing the best thing to do.
Everett said the key to programming the robot's travel has been to set realistic goals for the unit. Instead of asking the robot to formulate a complete course to its final destinations, researchers developed algorithms that set interim targets, allowing the robot to make its own adjustments along the way.
So we plan all these potential different blue paths. So there's all these beams in every direction that the robot could possibly go. And right now, I told the robot to go over here somewhere, so it's choosing this green one as the one that it's actually going to execute. So if I press go, it's going to start driving along this trajectory. So we're about ready to test, and I'm just going to press one button. So instead of planning an entire long path from their start all the way to the other side of the building, we just plan short paths. And the reason is it doesn't make a lot of sense if the world is changing to spend a bunch of time computing the optimal path to get you somewhere when you may not even know what it looks like that day when you're testing.
The robot handled itself reasonably well in the halls of MIT Stratus Center, only getting confused and pausing occasionally when someone veered suddenly off course or made an abrupt movement. But Everett says coming up with a robot that flows through crowds as easily as a human is still way off.
I think one thing that we aren't accounting for right now is people's ability to communicate with one another. So when I'm walking down the hallway, I make eye contact with people, and that gives a huge clue for what I'm going to do next if I'm going to avoid someone. So if we could account for that, I think our performance would get even better.
Everett believes possible real-world applications for robots with Jackal's abilities are many, but might include various applications for delivering goods, operating in malls, or perhaps working in hospital corridors, transporting medicine, or even moving patients.